Now, it's all well and good from a design standpoint, knowing what to buy or avoid from IKEA in isolation, but the real challenge from a wider perspective is how to pair IKEA items together in a room, as it's very easy to end up with a hodgepodge of furniture that you may love in isolation, but hate once it's all together. So seeing as I've gone through these very struggles, after years of experience doing this kind of thing as an architect, I thought I'd show you 5 small living room furniture strategies using nothing but my very top picks from the ubiquitous furniture giant that is IKEA. To kick things off, this is an option that might be for someone who's really into modern, bright and minimal interiors with an emphasis on making a room feel as big as it possibly can, without sacrificing too much when it comes down to comfort. As a focal point for the room, we're going to add in their applied sofa, which I've mentioned on the channel before as a great pick, simply for how much it resembles Muto's gorgeous outline sofa. And in keeping with a delicate metal-legged theme, it pairs really well with a chair like their Linnebeck, without feeling too matchy-matchy, where these two items make the room feel larger because of their lightly coloured upholstery and simply because of how much floor you can see underneath them. With this metal black framing being an anchor for the aesthetic so far, it only makes sense to add in IKEA's Gladom side table and Nimone lamp, which tie in almost too perfectly. And by adding in a flexible Grundwehr ottoman and speckled high pile Windham rug, it adds a softness to an otherwise quite masculine aesthetic. And finally, by adding in some ceramics and cushions that follow the bright material palette, it makes the space look a little bit more lived in. And together, I think these items do a great job of providing comfort and coziness while optimizing brightness and spaciousness too. To make this interesting, with each of the options that I've come up with, I'm going to give them a personal rating out of 10 for utility, comfort, aesthetics, durability, and value, with 10 being the very best of what you can possibly do within the realms of IKEA furniture. I have to say that this kind of minimalist aesthetic is right up my alley, so I'm just going to straight up give this a personal 10 out of 10 for aesthetics, as I don't really think it gets much better looking than this at IKEA. And I'm also going to give this a 10 for value, as this all adds up to be under $1,500, which is really pretty amazing. However, yes, it's true, there is very little in the way of utility here, as there's no hidden storage or any other real features beside the seating itself. So I'm going to give it an 8 for comfort, but a 4 for functionality. And when it comes to durability, bright interiors like this can be terrifying when it comes to consuming food and drink in them. So I do have to deduct points for this by giving it only a 6. Bringing my personal take on this option to a respectable 38 out of 50. Next up, I'm going to go with a super high quality, comfort focused option, as IKEA does tend to get a bit of a bad rap when it comes to comfort and durability. As the sofa is typically the main focus and priority in most living rooms, we'll start there with the brand new Yatabo sofa, which combines modular, comfortable seating modules with the functionality of concealed storage underneath them, with the grey colourway going with almost anything that you throw at it. Because aesthetically this is quite a heavy sofa due to its lack of legs and wide arms, we can offset this with a lighter lounge chair like the Rodviken, where its rattan construction provides a sculptural translucent form that reduces the visual bulk of the chair, making a room feel larger and not overly populated when paired with an item such as the Yatabo. In keeping with the handwoven aesthetic of this chair, it pairs really well with rugs like the Lurnestack, which brings through some texture to the room, which is a little bit lacking from the sofa. And on top of this, by adding in a Freutop coffee and side table, the metal construction ties in with the metal frame of the Rodviken lounge chair, and the table's circular form save the space from feeling rigid. Then by adding in some ceramics with a handmade appearance, it saves the tables from feeling empty while serving the purpose of providing a catch-all for things like TV remotes and coasters. And a small plant pot provides a space for a small plant to add a little bit of life to the space. And finally, by adding some rich textured cushions and a throw, it adds some depth to the plain backdrop of the sofa, creating a cozy and interesting space with a ton of secretly hidden storage, making this a great option for a person who prioritizes hard-wearing, cozy, and clutter-free living rooms. Now, this is all very subjective, but when it comes to comfort, I'm going to give this option a 9 because of how plush that sofa is, but with a point deducted because the chair may not be to everyone's liking. And then I'm going to give it a 9 for durability because this is easily some of IKEA's best quality stuff. However, this option comes to almost $2,500, so I can't really help but give it just a 6 for value, as this is really a lot for IKEA furniture. And then finally, I'm going to give it a 7 for utility because of the hidden storage, and a 7 for aesthetics purely down to my personal preference, bringing my total on my take for this option to 38 as well. Now, this next option is really geared towards maximizing natural materials through a Japandi-inspired aesthetic, as natural materials do tend to age better than man-made ones, and they do provide a much more calming environment too. For the sofa, by going for IKEA's Söderholm in beige, it provides a really affordable and warm backdrop to the space. And because this sofa's construction and cushions are so lightweight, and because it's so low to the ground, it has a really traditional futon-like quality and simplicity to it. This then pairs really well with their beige Ekeneset chair and its simple mid-century style timber frame. Then, to really emphasize the natural materials in the space, by adding in IKEA's Lowell's jute rug, it provides a textured and durable flat-woven natural surface underfoot, and their Tolkiening ottoman provides storage that can be used as an additional seat or side table in the room too, with its rattan hand-woven construction running with this all-natural theme. Then it did seem somewhat fitting to pair this with their Trullstorp table, which allows the table surface to be raised on gas struts in order to eat or work from the sofa, while also providing a generous space underneath it for yet more storage. And after adding a decorative glass bowl as a catch-all, as well as some cushions, it completes this as a really inviting and calming space that's perfect for someone who's into simple living and doesn't quite have the space for a dining table. When it comes to functionality, this option is really up there, as there's a bunch of hidden storage right in plain sight, and it pretty much removes the necessity of owning a dining table, so I'm going to give this a 9 for utility as well as a 10 for value, as this option also totals to under $1,500. However, I wouldn't call this option particularly comfortable or cozy, as I know that the Söderholm sofa isn't really the squishiest, and the Lowell's rug isn't that soft underfoot either, despite it being very calming. So I'm going to give this a 5 for comfort, but a 9 for aesthetics. And when it comes to its durability, I'm going to have to give this only a 4, as again, this is another living room setup with light fabrics, as well as a table with a hinge and gas strut, which are known to be a little bit on the delicate side too, bringing my take on this combination of furniture to a total of 37. Okay, so far we've covered a high quality comfort focused option, a bright, spacious and minimal option, as well as a natural material focused option. So now I only think it's fair to go down the route of a colourful mid-century modern option. Despite not necessarily being in line with my usual aesthetic, an option like this may be better suited to someone who needs a really abusable living room with things quickly on hand or on display, and a space that's full of life, character and energy. For a living room like this, going down a mid-century eclectic inspired theme is ideal, as it's just a bit more flexible and laid back without taking itself all too seriously. For this, a sofa that's perfect as a starting point is the Murabou or Landskrona sofa, as the tufted cushions are a bit reminiscent of a bunch of furniture icons from that era, such as the incredibly famous Mies van der Rohe designed Barcelona chair, with materials such as tan synthetic leather or dark velvet providing a pop of colour that, in this case, is also likely to be dark enough to hide unfortunate mishaps such as spills too. And also, as velvet doesn't easily snag, it's a somewhat viable option if you have pets as well. This then pairs really well with their brand new HAVBERG chair, where its synthetic tan leather perfectly complements the navy of the sofa, as this is a colour that's on the opposite side of the colour wheel. However, this is also because this mid-century styled swivel armchair clearly takes inspiration from the arguably even more famous Eames lounge chair, with tufted cushions and a black swivel base that pairs with a matching ottoman. As durability is a key driving factor for this option, a darker and multicolored patterned rug, such as the Vestervig, is a perfect and more lively option than some of the others. And then to run with this mid-century theme, a round glass and metal table such as the Vidware works really well, and a side table such as the Lunarp adds some crucial warmth into this very broad material palette that's foundational to an eclectic interior, which begs to be paired with a dark timber sideboard like the Stockholm or some of IKEA's bester variants. With some dark walls and dim, cozy lighting, I think that this would make for a great looking but highly durable and easy to maintain interior, perhaps for someone with a lively and chaotic, busy lifestyle. This is a real departure from what I choose for my home, as I'm one of those frail-minded people who tends to find it a bit difficult to think straight when there's a lot going on. But I know for a fact that many people thrive off this, and I really love the inspiration behind the pieces that are a part of this setup. So for comfort and durability, I have to give this option 2 10s, as it doesn't really get much better than this at IKEA. But this means that this setup is over $2,000, which makes it a lot less affordable than some of the other options in this video. So I'm going to give it a 7 for value and a 7 for aesthetics, which is again very subjective, as I know that everyone will view this differently. And then, as this option doesn't really provide too much more than comfortable seating, I'm going to give it just a 5 for functionality, bringing my take on this setup to a total of 39. So with options that focus on comfort, spaciousness, natural materials, and durability, what's really left is a truly functional option, which is right up my alley. After the dining room, arguably the biggest waste of space in our homes is in the bedroom, as these rooms are only really used during sleeping, where we're not really experiencing them at all. So especially in the case of the studio and 1-bedroom apartment, finding ways to make the living area also function as the sleeping area tends to make a lot of sense. I've done a lot of thinking about what the best value bed/sofa setup is, as you can go all the way from a hidden wall bed down to a fold-out sofa bed. But these options are always either a little clunky or really expensive, which is why IKEA's Fyrestol daybed becomes a really compelling option. Then, as this is just a frame, you pair it with 2 foam mattresses and you have something that resembles a sofa, but also something that pulls out to the same width of a king-size bed. The problem, however, is that there's no back to this, so I had a bit of an epiphany lately that you can pair this daybed with the separately sold sofa backs from their Frieten or Cloven sofas, which actually gives this daybed some structure that's somewhat comparable to a real sofa. Then all you really need to do is cover your mattresses with a bedspread, and I think you end up with a daybed that almost doesn't look or feel like a daybed at all. And when paired with the Tolkiening ottoman and storage boxes, you have all the space you need to hide away your duvet and pillows. Then to complement this, you could add in a chair such as the hand-woven metal-framed Ulriksberg, which continues with this aesthetic. And finally, another easily movable ottoman such as the Grundwehr acts as a versatile surface for setting down your drink, feet or bum. And when paired with their highly functional and affordable Stoens rug, you end up with a really comfortable, functional and affordable setup that's arguably as good as it gets for small apartments. This setup kind of blows my mind when it comes to the price, as it's the cheapest of all of the options, and it provides the most functionality, without looking all that bad in my opinion too. So I can't help but give this 2 10 out of 10s for value and functionality, as well as a 7 for aesthetics and a 9 for durability, as there's really little that can go wrong here, as it's all made of either metal or a washable fabric. Really, the only downside to this option is comfort, as I know that the chair has no padding and the daybed does have a long metal bar that juts out along its front and metal arms and slats for its base, so I'm going to have to give it a 5 for comfort. However, with a combination of natural materials and a virtually unbreakable metal construction, this brings my total for this option up to 41. But really, my totals mean very little when it comes to this kind of thing, as they are a little bit too subjective. But what really matters when picking furniture for your own space is that you're intentional and self-aware when it comes to what you like and what you need for your own home. And by considering what you care about most, whether that's value, comfort, aesthetics, durability, or utility, and then following clear design principles that consider shape, texture, and color, it's more than possible to come up with the perfect solution for your needs, even on a budget. If you found this video helpful, it would actually really help me out if you make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already, and if you let me know down in the comments which option you liked the most or what you would do to change them. Okay, now just quickly before I go, I just want to say how incredible it is to be able to make content like this for you guys as my day job. But seeing as I do everything for this YouTube channel by myself from this tiny room, I'm trying to come up with the best ways to produce more high quality content for you guys more regularly, which is why I'm incredibly excited to be pairing up with sponsors like Bellroy, who are sponsoring today's video, in order to make this happen. Now, let me just show you why. Take a look at this wallet on their website. It may just look like an ordinary wallet, but no. It has 4 quick access card slots, a stackable slot for up to 4 more, another secret slot, full-length flat bill storage, a secret stash pocket, and another protected pocket inside that for coins or business cards. Then pair it with their key cover, and you just leveled up and streamlined your EDC past every single person in your friend circle. But what if you don't use your pockets and your current bag has you doing this? Yup, Bellroy has you covered. But what about if you're heading out and you need to carry just water and hand sanitizer? What about a tablet? A camera? Or what if you carry just nothing but your phone and cards? This is why I think Bellroy is one of the best options around for this, and I have been using their products for years. So seeing as I only accept sponsorships for this channel that I actually like and would recommend to a friend, check out Bellroy using the link down in the video description for 10% off. But finally, thank you so much if you made it all the way to the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next one.